I am LaMarsha Lewis. Happy Friday, March 5th, 2021. We're going to do some commentary. We're going to talk about an issue where we got the Republican Party doing their fake outrage. President Joe Biden had made a statement in regards to two Republican governors, the state of Texas and the state in where I live, Mississippi. Two governors have basically lifted the mask mandate, the mask restriction, and President Biden gave his thoughts on an opinion. But I will say this to everyone: you got to be your own self-advocate. Please wear a mask. We have lost over 500,000 American lives to coronavirus, to COVID-19. Yes, there is a vaccine. In fact, there's 2 vaccines that's out there, but that is still new as well. And people are also still dying from this terrible disease, this terrible virus. Please don't play politics, because this is what these governors are doing, playing politics with your life or the life of your loved ones, your friends, and all of us. Do not stop wearing your mask. I think this is basically just a deliberate defiance, being rude, and like I'm going to do what I want, because as we know, upon coming into office, President Biden said he would put in a 100-day mandate of wearing a mask, and he's only been president since January the 20th, a little over a month, going into 2 months, and I think they said, I'm not sure of the days, but we know we haven't reached 100 days. And I think that is just a deliberate, intentionally, willful being defiant. And President Biden just went to Texas and toured Texas with the Governor Abbott, if I make no mistake, it's the gentleman's name from Texas. And for him to be so arrogant and talk about it's not time to stop wearing a mask. Anybody with common sense should know it is not time to stop wearing a mask. Yes, Greg Abbott is the Texas governor, and Tate Reeves is the governor here in, again, my state of Mississippi. And again, you got to be your own self-advocate. No one is going to care about you and your family, but no one's going to care about you more than you. No one's going to care about your family more than you and your family. And same applies for your friends, but you can only give your opinions and your thoughts and advice to a friend. But when it comes to yourself and when it comes to your family, your household, please wear a mask. Practice the guidance of the CDC. Practice what Dr. Fauci, who is the lead head scientist expert in regards to this pandemic, in regards to the coronavirus, COVID-19. But we're gonna listen to the clip from. In fact, this was actually today. They were talking about it. So let's start.
Okay, we're talking about President Biden for saying Texas and Mississippi are guilty of Neanderthal thinking for rolling back COVID restrictions and including masks. So Anna, you didn't get a turn last time. What do you think of the backlash he's getting from the GOP on this?
Oh, Joy, look, my apologies to the Geico caveman, but I think this is one of the most ridiculous subjects I've ever spoken about on TV. And after the last 4 years, that's a very high bar. It would have been nice if Republicans had taken the same offense to Donald Trump attacking live people, like a disabled reporter or calling black athletes sons of bitches as they have to an extinct subspecies that existed 400,000 to 40,000 years ago. I think they've spent the whole week screaming and clutching their pearls about Mr. Potato Head wearing a purse, about Dr. Seuss, and now about Neanderthals. If they want to be known as the Neanderthal Party, have at it. Sounds like a great slogan. I think it's gaslighting, and it's a distraction from the fact that right now the FBI is investigating communications between legislators and rioters on January 6th, that they have 2 sexual harassers in their new freshman class, Madison Cawthorn and Ronnie Jackson, who've been accused of doing horrible things to women and doing horrible things in general. I think it's absurd for senators to be going on TV and tweeting about Neanderthals when we are in the middle of voting of the COVID-19 relief bill and unemployment benefits, and those benefits run out in 9 days. So, you know, I really am sorry to the poor young man, but I'd rather.
And I am in agreement with Anna. It's just the latest talking point that they have, because that's what they do. They just use talking points. So therefore, this is a fake outrage. Because you could have fake outrage over, as like Anna pointed out, President Biden using a term, and we know now is no longer even existing. But you got these Republicans, even Meghan McCain, that made the discussion about it as well, and you weren't concerned. You acquitted a man. You let a man get off that put your life in danger on January 6th, that caused a hit on America, a hit on our nation's capital, a breach to our nation's capital. But then the only fake outrage you can come up with is cause President Biden said what he said. And let's listen to the first. That was Anna. Let's listen to the first clip.
By rolling back COVID restrictions and ending mask mandates. And now Republicans are aghast that after 4 years of Trump's Shakespearean musings, President Joe Biden would resort to this kind of language. What?
I think it's a big mistake. Look, I hope everybody's realized by now, these masks make a difference. We are on the cusp of being able to fundamentally change the nature of this disease because of the way in which we're able to get vaccines in people's arms. We've been able to move that all the way up to the end of May to have enough for every American, to get every adult American to get a shot. And the last thing we need is the Neanderthal thinking that in the meantime everything's fine, take off your mask, forget it. It still matters.
And here is how GOP Senator Marsha Blackburn responded.
We were called Neanderthals when I led the fight against imposition of a state income tax in Tennessee. So you know what I did? I started the Neanderthal caucus because Neanderthals are hunter-gatherers. They're protectors of their family. They are resilient. They're resourceful. They tend to their own.
They're also extinct, Senator. So, Sonny, is it a win to just get a Republican to admit that evolution exists?
I guess. You know, all the pearl clutching over language is really something to me. When you had 4 years of someone speaking in the lowest of terms and debasing people and degrading people. I think that President Biden has every right to feel this way. He has suffered tremendous loss. Americans have suffered tremendous loss, over 500,000 lost souls, and we are close to changing, but we only have about 15.6%, 16.3% of the total population that has been vaccinated, and we know that we need 70 to 80% of the population to be vaccinated for herd immunity. The ask from the Biden administration was for people to wear a mask for the first 100 days of his administration. There are 60 days to go, and it, quite frankly, is Neanderthal thinking to take all of these restrictions away and take that mask mandate away, not listen to the government, and not listen to the science, most importantly. And I think he actually put the term kind of nicely. I think I would call it something worse than Neanderthal thinking, quite frankly. And, you know, Trump, I hate to even say the name, but he cost lives by downplaying the science and by politicizing masks. And I guess these Republican governors want to continue that trend. There'll be more lives lost because of this lessening of the mask mandate.
All right. It seems like the mask thing is just spite work. Because it has nothing to do with, reality. What's the big deal about, you said the other day, Sarah, what's the big deal about wearing a mask? It's just spite work, in my opinion. So, Sarah, can Blackburn really reclaim the word Neanderthal, do you think, for the GOP?
I don't know why this makes me laugh so hard, but he did say Neanderthal thinking, not you're all Neanderthals, which she owned. She can ditch the present tense because, as you mentioned, they are extinct. And she's also someone that's been very vocal about denying evolution. So I found it fitting that she used that. But I just feel like that this is an example. It shows there's not much to pick on. If this is the words we're parsing, they spend a lot of time talking about how old Biden is. Well, you're going to get words like slacks and ornery and Neanderthal. It's kind of an uncivilized choice to not wear a mask when the science speaks loud and clear. And I think that it's, again, as Sunny mentioned, on the heels of someone who could offend, people 4 times in a sentence, picking on an extinct Homo sapien seems like pretty safe ground for me. As someone who has 2% Neanderthal, I represent my community. I'm not offended.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that about you.
23andMe, I've got some Neanderthal.
Yeah, well, they existed in the Pleistocene period, which is when I graduated high school. So let me ask you this. Isn't this manufactured outrage, or is this a real problem, Megan?
I actually don't think this is manufactured. I think, unfortunately, the problem is if you're President Biden, you have said that this is going to be the soul of the nation is going to come back. We're going to have a complete and utter paradigm shift. Angels are going to come down from the sky, and there's going to be nothing but unity in the country. It really reminds me of Hillary Clinton's deplorable comment, which I think a lot of people on the left wrote off, and it really did end up hurting her. And I think, unfortunately, it's a self-inflicted wound. You guys can laugh and say, oh, it's a joke, whatever, but Republicans across the country already feel like people on the left think they're dumb rednecks. They're just stupid deplorables in baskets. Nobody cares with their trucks and their flags. That's what Republicans think the media thinks of them. So I was actually surprised to hear him throw around that language. I also think he's got much bigger problems right now, including the fact that he hasn't had one press conference yet. He's actually the first president in 100 years not to do a press conference in the first 23 days. President Trump did, first 100 days. President Trump did, Obama did in the first 20 days, and President Trump did in 27 days. So I think this just doesn't help. And I think when you have Jen Psaki sort of blowing off Republican questions and Republican talking points, all it does is going to help Republicans be more tribal and think that we're just deplorable Neanderthals. The left has no place for us. So there's no unity whatsoever. And I think it's really unfortunate. I don't like it at all.
I think that the deplorables word came before Trump, before we knew how deplorable he was.
Right. So
in reaction to Trump, nothing sounds that bad because of how bad he was. And he might have had a conference, his press conference right away, but then he dropped out. We never saw him again. He was afraid to take calls. He would do it on the tarmac at airports. And Joe Biden has also accomplished a lot of things in a very short time.
But it was President Trump doing one-on-one interviews with the press corps, which President Biden has not done. In fact, he has a video that's gone viral saying that we're waiting to talk to the press, and then it just goes to a gray screen. There's confusion about why he won't stand in front of the press corps right now. I will say also, President Trump called the gang group MS-13 animals, and the media jumped all over it for weeks. I have no problem calling vicious gang members animals, and that was something the media just took and ran with. And I think that if it's not okay to call gang members animals, but it's okay to call Republicans who are in the middle of the country Neanderthals, it just seems like a lot of hypocrisy.
No, but let's remember what you're saying there and what was just corrected. He didn't call people Neanderthals. He said it was Neanderthal thinking. Okay, we'll be right back.
Potato.
We'll weigh in.
Okay, Meghan McCain always trying to basically be controversial, pick a fight, and all while deflecting to the issue at hand. Sonny did point out we got 60 days to go, so that's basically right, because like I said, President Biden has been president a little over a month now. So that's 40 days, and he had set a mandate of 100 days, so 60 days to go. So it's intentionally, like Joy also pointed out, is really being spiteful by these Republican governor, including that of mine, Mississippi. And I would say this, and I've said it on some social media platforms. The governor here in the state of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, do not speak for all Mississippians. He may speak for the Mississippians like him in the Republican Party and has his way of thinking, but as a whole, there's a lot more Mississippians, and we do not think or have the same ideas, opinions as that of Tate Reeves. He just happens to be the governor. So, as I have said, you got to advocate for yourself. People, please continue to wear your mask. Continue to do your part. 1, to stay alive. And 2, to help others stay alive. Do your part, because we are still in a pandemic. Then, let's go back to this conversation the ladies of The View had. You had Meghan McCain talking about, well, a lot of people think we the Republicans are just dumb and written. That is the thinking, that is the logic in the opinions and perception that most people have about, especially in my state. This is Mississippi. We're the last of everything. It's a poor state, poor economy, poor people, and then you got the governor talking about don't wear a mask. But then this is a red state. It makes no sense. And I see people all the time, yes, riding around in their trucks with their Confederate flag. And then, yes, you're poor rednecks. And then you got the senator from Tennessee, Marsha Blackburn, out there talking about neon thing. Like Joy said, also President Biden's press secretary Jen said, he didn't call people that. Even my governor lied and said he's calling us. He didn't say that the Republicans or the governors themselves were Neanderthals. He said it was Neanderthals thinking. See, but the Republican loves to twist, misconstrue. That's why Meghan McCain was in trouble, allegedly, supposedly had a talk to. Because see, they do sound bites and they do talking points and not fact. And you want to always come up and throw up hypocrisy. You are the perfect example of hypocrisy. Again, the Republicans acquitted Donald J. Trump of an insurrection that he incited that caused 5 people's lives to die that day. People have since taken their lives. Many people suffered many severe injuries, and that is something that is written in American history for the rest of our lives. And many more could have died, but yet they acquitted him. But then you want to do, as Sonny said, clutch your pearls. You want to have fake outrage, and you want to talk about hypocrisy. We can talk about hypocrisy because we're going to start with the Republican Party. Let's talk. See, in order to have unity, and Biden cannot do it by himself. He cannot restore the soul of our country by himself. Everyone must play a part, and you must do diligently in your part. You got to be fair. You can't have these fake outrages and these lies and the hypocrisy. It doesn't go hand in hand. But see, you got the Republican, they got the talking points, and they want to talk about unity, but they're not trying to comply because they have no desire. They don't want this country to be restored. They don't want the soul of this country to be restored. They don't want us to come together as a people. They want to keep fighting and against. They don't even want every American to have free health care for all. They don't want a $15 minimum wage for every American in this United States. They want us to live below poverty, especially if you're like me, a person of color. Because, see, it's about the white man's burden. It's about racism at the core. That's why they flock to Trump. Because, see, he was bold and openly with his racism and with his hate of people of color against immigrants, although he's married to immigrants. His first wife was an immigrant, gave him 3 kids. That last wife was an immigrant, gave him his last child. But then he wanted he hates immigrants and he hates people of color. And then how he's berated women alone. How he's mocked the military and let them tell, oh, they for military. They're for the police. How he's called people SOBs. How he's mocked the disabled. So I don't want to hear anything when it comes to you, the fake outrage, the grand old party, GOP of Republic. Because y'all are a bunch of hypocrites. And yes, you are deplorable. Why? Because you don't want everyone to have the rights that you have. You only want it for yourselves. You only want it for you that are rich, your families, your household, your friends, not all of us. So that's, you can just stop with trying to blame President Obama. I'm sorry, trying to blame President Biden or trying to blame Democrats. Because it's you. You don't, again, $7.25 is the minimum wage. That's poverty. Why we can't have free health care for all if other countries are doing it? See, that's discrimination within itself. And we know that wearing a mask in this pandemic that we are still in helps to save lives. And this, I think Joyce said it today. What's wrong with saving lives? You had just last week Meghan McCain with her rant, her fake outrage that she can't get a freaking vaccine. And then now it's been announced that by May, all Americans that desire to get a vaccine, it should have enough vaccine that every American can get one. And she's still freaking complaining. That's hypocrisy. That's being a hypocrite. And that's why you all are known as deplorable and rednecks. Just because you come from a rich family, it doesn't exclude or exempt you from being a redneck. So I'm so over the Republican Party because it's evident they don't want unity. They don't want restoration. They don't want the soul of the country restored. They just want to continue to be in power, to continue to fatten their pockets, to give tax rates to the rich, but yet you don't want minimum wage to be only $15. Like I said, that's $31,200 yearly salary, $600 for a 40-hour work week. And the salary that the senators make is $174,000. But yet they're the representation of you and I, we the American people, but they don't want to give a minimum wage of $15. Hypocrisy. Hypocrites. So until we can come together, this is what we're going to have. And I just had to come to that realization and just the acknowledgement. If you don't want to come together, if you don't want to be better, if you don't want to do better, if you don't want to stop racism, if you don't want to stop being part of the problem and finding the solution, this is where we're going to be. And this is where we are in the United States of America. It is what it is. I'm LaMarsha Lewis, and this is my commentary. Let's talk.